Let me share something with you that requires clear thinking, not wishful thinking. There's a claim spreading across the internet right now about a $2,300 stimulus check supposedly arriving in 2026, and it's my job to walk you through what's actually true and what isn't. Now, I've spent decades studying how people make decisions with money, and I've learned that the first step to financial wisdom is distinguishing between reality and fiction. Here's what's real. Congress has not authorized any new federal stimulus payments for 2026. The IRS has made no announcements. The Treasury Department has issued no directives. The last genuine federal stimulus checks went out in 2021 under the American Rescue Plan, and those payments are long finished. What we do have in 2026 is a 2.8% cost of living adjustment for Social Security benefits. That's about $56 more per month on average for the 75 million Americans receiving benefits. Now, President Trump has discussed a potential $2,000 tariff dividend funded by import taxes. But here's where the numbers tell a different story. Budget analysts estimate such payments would cost between $280 billion and $607 billion, while tariff revenue is projected at only $200 billion to $300 billion annually. The mathematics simply don't support the claim. What you're seeing online are either outright scams designed to steal your personal information, confusion about state-level programs like Colorado's Tabor refund, or legitimate tax refunds being misidentified as stimulus payments. The IRS warns that they never contact taxpayers through email, text messages, or social media about surprise payments. Any message claiming otherwise is fraudulent. So before you click on that link, before you share that video, before you give anyone your banking information, understand that clear thinking beats magical thinking every single time. Now, I want you to understand something fundamental about human psychology when it comes to money. We're hardwired to believe in good news, especially when times are tough. That's why these scams work so effectively. Someone promises you $2,300, and your brain immediately starts calculating what you could do with that money. Pay down some bills, fix the car, buy groceries for the month. It's completely natural. But this is precisely the moment when you need to engage your rational mind, not your emotional one. Warren and I spent decades studying how people make financial decisions, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that the biggest mistakes happen when emotion overrides reason. Let me walk you through what's actually happening with Social Security in 2026, because there are real changes you need to understand. The Social Security Administration announced a cost of living adjustment of 2.8% for 75 million Americans. And this is genuine, verified information coming directly from the government. For the average retired worker, this translates to roughly $56 more per month, which means your monthly benefit increases from about $2,008 to approximately $2,064 starting in January. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. $56 a month doesn't sound like much when you're hearing promises of $2,300 checks. But here's the thing about reality versus fantasy. Reality is what you can actually spend. That $56 will show up in your account every single month. It's reliable. It's predictable. You can budget around it. The phantom $2,300? That's vapor. That's nothing you can use to pay your electric bill. Let me explain how the cost of living adjustment actually works, because understanding the mechanism helps you see why these wild claims about massive stimulus checks are so implausible. Congress enacted the COLA provision as part of the 1972 Social Security amendments, and automatic annual adjustments began in 1975. The adjustment is tied to something called the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, which tracks how prices change for goods and services. When prices go up, your benefits go up to help you maintain your purchasing power. It's not perfect. Many people argue it doesn't fully capture the healthcare costs that seniors face, but it's a systematic, transparent process that happens every year like clockwork. There's no mystery to it. There's no surprise windfall. It's incremental, it's steady, and it's real. Now let's talk about this tariff dividend idea that President Trump has been discussing, because this is where a lot of the confusion is coming from. The president suggested sending Americans a $2,000 tariff dividend check in social media posts, and I want to be very clear about the status of this proposal. It is exactly that, a proposal. It's an idea. It's something that's been floated in public discourse. But here's what you need to understand about how our government actually works. The president cannot simply decide to send checks to American citizens. That's not how the constitutional system operates. All government revenue goes into a common pool, and Congress decides how that money is spent through formal laws. Even if the president wants to issue such payments, Congress must approve the spending through legislation. This isn't a technicality. This is fundamental to how our republic functions. Let me give you the numbers, because numbers don't lie, and they're extraordinarily revealing in this case. A one-time $2,000 per person tariff rebate for those making less than $100,000 per year would cost $450 billion. Now let's look at the revenue side of this equation. The administration's tariff hikes in 2026 are projected to raise about $300 billion annually. Do you see the problem here? You cannot distribute $450 billion when you're only collecting $300 billion. The mathematics simply don't work. It's like promising to give away $15 when you only have $10 in your pocket. Either you're not giving away $15 or you're borrowing $5 to make up the difference. And if you're borrowing that $5, you're not using tariff revenue at all. You're adding to the national debt. Some of you might be thinking, well, maybe they'll do it anyway. Maybe they'll find the money somewhere. And this brings me to another fundamental principle of clear thinking. When someone promises you something that doesn't add up financially, you should be deeply skeptical, regardless of who's making the promise. Experts estimate that $2,000 dividends paid annually would increase deficits by $6 trillion over 10 years, which is roughly twice what the tariffs would raise over the same period. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible for Congress to pass legislation that increases the deficit. Congress does that all the time. But I am saying you shouldn't count on money that hasn't been authorized, hasn't been budgeted, and doesn't have the revenue to support it. That's just basic prudence. Let me also address something that concerns me deeply about these scam operations that are proliferating online. Scammers are using news about federal payments to steal personal information from people. And they're targeting older Americans specifically because retirees often don't need to file tax returns and may be less familiar with how government communications actually work. Here's what you absolutely must understand. The government will not call or text you to verify or ask for your Social Security number, bank account, or credit card number. If someone contacts you claiming to be from the government and asks for this information to process a stimulus payment, that person is a criminal. It doesn't matter how official they sound. It doesn't matter if they have a government-sounding title. It doesn't matter if the caller ID shows a Washington, D.C. area code. It's fraud. These scammers are sophisticated. They create websites that look official. They send emails that appear to come from government agencies. They know exactly which emotional buttons to push to get you to lower your guard. Bad actors may leave messages requesting personal information in exchange for immediate stimulus money or confirmation of identity to receive funding. The word immediate should set off alarm bells in your head. Government doesn't work immediately. Government works slowly. When legitimate payments are coming, you'll hear about it through official channels, through the Social Security Administration website, through official notices mailed to your home, through legitimate news organizations. You won't hear about it first through a text message or a Facebook post or an email with a link asking you to click here to claim your payment. Let me give you some practical guidance that could save you from becoming a victim. There is no application process to receive legitimate stimulus payments. If payments are authorized, they happen automatically based on information the government already has. You don't apply, you don't register, you don't verify your identity through some random website. And here's another absolute rule. Only scammers will ask you to pay to receive stimulus money. There is no processing fee. There's no expedite fee. There's no verification fee. If someone asks you to pay anything to receive a government benefit, you're talking to a thief. Now let's discuss what you should actually be paying attention to regarding your Social Security benefits in 2026. The standard Medicare Part B premium has increased to $202.90 per month in 2026, up from $185 per month in 2025. This is a jump of about $18 per month. So when you're calculating your net increase from the cost of living adjustment, you need to subtract this premium increase. Your gross benefit goes up by $56, but if you're having Medicare Part B premiums deducted from your Social Security check, your net increase is only about $38. I'm not saying this to discourage you. I'm saying it because accurate information is always better than pleasant fiction. You need to know the real numbers so you can plan accordingly. There is, however, a protection built into the system that you should know about. A hold harmless provision makes it so beneficiaries cannot have their Medicare Part B premiums increase more than their Social Security cost of living adjustment. This means that if you're already receiving Social Security benefits and having Part B premiums deducted, your Social Security check cannot go down because of the premium increase. The system protects you from that particular squeeze. It's not perfect, but it's something. I want to emphasize something about the quality of information you're consuming. In an age where anyone can create a YouTube video or a Facebook post making wild claims, you need to become a discriminating consumer of information. Ask yourself who benefits from you believing a particular claim. If someone is telling you about a $2,300 stimulus check and then asking you to subscribe to their channel or click on their affiliate links or provide your personal information, they have a financial incentive to mislead you. They make money from your attention and your clicks, regardless of whether the information is true. Compare that to official sources. The Social Security Administration website doesn't make money from your clicks. They're not selling you anything. They're simply providing you with factual information about your benefits. When I need to know something about Social Security, I go to SSA.gov. When I need to know something about taxes, I go to IRS.gov. These websites are boring, they're not flashy, they don't have clickbait headlines, but they're accurate. And in financial matters, accuracy is worth infinitely more than excitement. Let me share with you what I consider to be one of the most valuable thinking tools Warren and I used throughout our careers. We called it inverting. Instead of asking, how can I get rich, we asked, how do I avoid going broke? Instead of asking, what's the best investment, we asked, what are all the ways this investment could fail? Apply that same thinking here. Instead of asking, how do I get my $2,300 check, ask yourself, what are all the ways this could be a scam? When you invert the question, the answers become much clearer. You start seeing the warning signs, you start noticing the red flags, you start protecting yourself through healthy skepticism rather than exposing yourself through wishful thinking. I'm going to tell you something that might sound harsh, but it comes from a place of genuine concern for your well-being. If something sounds too good to be true, it almost certainly is. This isn't cynicism. This is pattern recognition based on observing human behavior and financial markets for more than 70 years. The world is not set up to deliver windfalls to you without effort or risk. When genuine opportunities exist, they come with complexity, with trade-offs, with clearly explained mechanisms. They don't arrive in your inbox with a subject line screaming, claim your $2,300 now. Here's what you can count on. Nearly 71 million Social Security beneficiaries will see the 2.8% cost of living adjustment beginning in January 2026. That's real. That's happening. You can see your new benefit amount through your My Social Security account starting in early December. If you're receiving supplemental security income, increased payments to nearly 7.5 million SSI recipients began on December 31st, 2025. These are concrete facts you can verify through official channels. Build your financial planning around what's certain, not around what's speculated. And if you're wondering about the future of the tariff dividend proposal, here's what I can tell you. It remains just that, a proposal. It would require congressional action. It would require finding the funding. It would require navigating complex budgetary constraints and political negotiations. None of this happens quickly, and none of this happens quietly. When and if Congress actually passes legislation to send checks to Americans, you'll know about it through official government announcements, not through random social media posts or sketchy emails. The COVID stimulus checks that went out in 2020 and 2021 were authorized through major legislation that was debated publicly, voted on formally, and announced through proper channels. That's how real government payments work. So, what should you do with all this information? First, ignore any claims about imminent stimulus checks unless they're confirmed by official government sources. Second, protect your personal information fiercely. Never give out your social security number, bank account details, or other sensitive data to anyone who contacts you unsolicited. Third, focus on the real changes happening with your benefits. The 2.8% cost of living adjustment, the Medicare premium increases, and the actual financial picture you're dealing with. Fourth, if you encounter something that seems suspicious, report it to the proper authorities rather than simply ignoring it. The Federal Trade Commission has a complaint assistant at ftc.gov where you can report scams. Your action might prevent someone else from becoming a victim. The bottom line is this: there is no verified $2,300 stimulus check coming in 2026. What you have instead is a modest but real increase in your Social Security benefits, offset partially by Medicare premium increases. Plan accordingly, budget conservatively, and maintain that healthy skepticism that served prudent people well throughout history. Clear thinking beats magical thinking every single time, and in financial matters, that difference can be the difference between security and catastrophe.